everybody, it's Cassie and welcome to my channel. I have an October wrap-up and an October book haul for you guys today. And so let's get through the book haul really quick. I'm not going to tell you what these are about because I have absolutely no idea. I just got them because it sounded interesting and looked interesting, and plus they were either book one of the series and I just wanted them, okay? And they're thrift store finds, so you cannot, it's so hard to pass up a thrift store book when they are so cheap. So the first book I have here is The Walking Dead: The Fall of the Governor Part 2. I did not even know this was a book series, so I'm very happy about this. I kind of skimmed through it and it seems to go along with the comics, kind of, but I don't know. Like I said, I didn't even know it was a book. Then I have To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I kind of skimmed through this. I've kind of seen the show a little bit, so I know what it's about, but I've not completely read or watched it. Another book I have is The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. This is book 3. I need book 2 now. Another book I have is The Earth Dragons: The Whirl by Chris DeLacy. The Accidental Sorcerer by K.E. Mills. Both of those books about dragons. Ashes by Ilsa J. Bick. First book in a trilogy. And another book that I got is The 49th Mystic by Ted Dekker. He seems to be an author that publishes a lot of books, so I'm very interested to see why I guess he's pretty popular. I don't know. I just know he has a lot of books out, and I've got another book on my shelf, I think that's by him. And then the last one I have is a classic, and it is Heidi. Got this from my mom, I think. So yeah, that is my book haul, and now let's get into my wrap-up. Alright, so I'm going to go off of my journal here, and then I will post a picture here so you can see it too as I am reading this. And I apologize for the lighting. It's awful. I've tried to make my own lighting everywhere. It's just nasty and raining today, so I do not have the natural light that I normally do. This is off my glasses and everywhere. It's awful lighting today, and I'm so sorry. But anyways, let's get into my October wrap-up. I had 12 books on my TBR, and I read 9 books. I ended up reading 6 books off of my TBR. 3 of those books were not on my TBR, which is fantastic, and I'm so glad I did better this month than normal. So I thought I would go ahead and let you know the stats. Now, each of these stats, like I have said before, do not come off as even because some are both YA and middle grade, some are both middle grade and children, and some are both historical fiction, romance, some are paranormal fantasy. So nothing is going to come out even unless, it's not going to be the total. So I read 4 YA, 2 children, and 1 middle grade. I'm guessing all the other ones are adult, but it did not specifically say adult. I read 5 fantasy, 4 romance, 3 paranormal, 1 historical fiction, 1 mystery thriller, 1 horror, 2 fiction, and 2 classics. Like I said, that they each have multiple categories, so it's not going to come as a total 9. First books that I'm going to talk about is Twilight and New Moon. I can make a whole discussion video on just these 2 books. I give them both 3 stars. These are rereads for me, and I do not feel the same about them as I did when I first read them back in high school 10 years ago. They're so, these are love and hate books, or love to hate, or love/hate, and it's just, I love them, but I don't love them. There is a good deal of discussion to talk about with these books, about depression and obsessive behavior and so much dangerous and destructive things to talk about. I kind of wish I didn't reread because of my nostalgic feeling for them from when I read them in high school. I'm going to continue on with the series because I hope the next 2 books will be so much better. This one I liked so much less than this one. If you've read these books, let me know your thoughts on them. Let me know if you've reread these books and if you liked them more or liked them less than the first time you've read them. For my Spookathon TBR, I read and completed 2 books. I only had 2 books on my TBR, and one book was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and I gave this 4.5 stars. And it was so good. I loved the poem that it went along with. I loved the suspense. I love how it kept you guessing, but at the same time, I did figure out who it was. It was kind of a giveaway with the way that person acted. If you want to know my thoughts as I read this book, you can go watch my part 1 Spookathon video, and yeah, know how I felt about this. The next book I have here is Junie B. Jones Has a Monster Under Her Bed, and I did not rate this. I had my son rate this, and I think he gave it 5 stars. We read it in a day. We read half the book at one time, half the book at another time. It was a cute read, and it was cute. It was enjoyable, and I'm glad we read this. The next book that I am so happy that I read and listened to on audiobook and watched the TV show is Jane Eyre. Oh, I love this classic so much. And now I just want to collect like all versions of it, and I love it. I love how dark and romantic and crazy this book is because of Mr. Rochester and his secret and how intense he is and just crazy. But at the time, I'm like, what are you supposed to do with the type of secret he has? You can either do what he did or do the other thing. And how do you know the thing will be okay? You know, I mean, it's very hard. It's just weird, but it was good. I loved it. I love it so much. 5 stars. The next book that I'm so glad I read, and that is The Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson. This is book 2 of the Remnant Chronicles, and I loved it. Oh my gosh, I love this. This is a reread for me, and I give this 5 stars. It was beyond fantastic. I love the audiobook so much. So if you've not read this series and you are wanting to, I highly recommend listening to the audiobook as you read along with this. It has 3 different narrators. 4 or 5. 4 different narrators because of Pauline too. And just the way they all interact. And I think with it, listening to the audiobooks helps so much because these books are very slow paced. Not a lot of action. A lot of romance. So if you like romance, slow paced reads, I highly recommend this. And if you don't, try the audiobook because this is a series that I think you should read. Another book I read is Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. And I also watched the movie of this. I loved this. I think I gave it 4.5, 5 stars. It's of course about Abraham Lincoln, and the author really did his research when he went about this book. I listened to the audiobook as I read this, and he had an interview, Seth did, at the very end of the book, and it talked about how he did his research, and he tried to stay to the story as accurately as possible as he could, except with the mix of vampires. And I loved it so much. It makes me want to read more of his work, and I do recommend this and watching the movie, except I warn you, the vampires scared me. I was not expecting the vampires to be the way they were. I was not expecting Twilight vampires. I was more expecting like True Blood vampires or Vampire Diary vampires, not the vampires in this book. Another book we completed is Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Days by Jeff Kinney, and we completed this by audiobook, and it's very good, except it's starting to get more mature for my son, and he's only 6, and this kid is going through his teenage years and the changes that go along with teenage years, but it also involves with friendship and going through school, so I want him to listen to this, but at the same time I'm just like, this is a mom listening to him, you know, it's weird, but I guess that's what happens when you're a mom of boys, right? The last book I want to talk to you about is Two Dark Reigns. Oh, this book. I am very sad. I love this book, but I did not love this book. I love that we get to read more about the characters. I love that so much is going on with the island and all the other characters are getting involved. And I gave it 3.5 stars, if that tells you anything. It took me longer to read it than it should have. I read 3 books in the time I read this one. Maybe because of Spook AThon, but still, I should have gotten this done in a week, like my normal reading thing, and I didn't. I'm for sure going to continue on with the series, but it was so slow. But it was so good at the same time, but it was not good. I'm torn. This one, there was not a lot of action. There was some romance. It's very, very dark, which I loved, but it was slow. So. Anyways, 3.5 stars for that book. Okay, so those are all the books that I have read in the month of October. Let me know if you have read any of these, if you have reread any of these, and if your thoughts and opinions have changed from the first time you have read them. I hope you guys had a great reading month in October, and in any readathons that you participated in, I hope you completed them like I did with Spook AThon, and I'm so glad I participated, and I only had 2 books on my TBR, so I guess that was good. For November, I will be pulling out from my TBR jar, so keep watch for that video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in another one. Bye!